Warning: this stream is rated for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legion Cage AdoptAPet.com theater. My name is Scotty. I'm your host, also known as EBC, also known as Discount Jabba the Hutt. And I will be providing all of your entertainment for the foreseeable future until you die and you have no choice about it. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, adoptapet.com. Legion Cage, who's right there in the chat, looking at you all creepy with his it clown emo thingy mabobber there. He would like you to check out adoptapet.com, where you can search for your local animal shelter and maybe even find a forever home for a pet in need. And he would greatly appreciate you doing so. And if you would like to be a sponsor of the EBC channel, all you have to do is go to the website, which is ebc2021.com. Check out the Patreon there, and all the information is right there. All right, so this is our new uh, program here on the EBC channel. Like I said previously, this is something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Just didn't necessarily have all the logistics in place until now. And this is actually kind of like an easy show for me to produce. There's not a lot to it, and therefore it's something I want to do regularly. We're going to do one at least once every month for the foreseeable future, maybe a little bit sooner than that. And that is interviews with normal, extraordinary people. The concept is basically this: this person over here to my right is a normal person just like I am. But he's also extraordinary in a lot of different ways that may not be so apparent because each of us are very unique. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. So we're going to get to know this person and say hello. So, my guest this evening is the Big Zang Theory, and his first name is Luke. He joins us from all the way, literally, halfway across the world in Malaysia, and it is now currently 9:06 a.m. in the morning for him. Where here in beautiful, trashy Cleveland, Ohio, it is 9:06 p.m. So yes, I really appreciate you joining us from halfway across the world on this early morning uh, for you there in Malaysia. How are you? Hello, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, good. Good time zone, I suppose. That's a more appropriate greeting. So my name is Luke. I am turning 19 this year. I'm all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I am a full-time student. But in my free time, I also like to play a lot of games, do some live streaming here and there as well. And I'll be honest, there's not a lot going around me if I'm being fully transparent. But what I can tell you is that I am a young student who hates college, but I do have a newfound love for, gaming. So I have had bad experiences with games in the past because, I'm plain horrible at like shooting games, Call of Duty, Fortnite, what you name it, I am horrible at all of those. But I did withhold some of the early childhood memory days where like I would play like games with my brother with our PS2. We had a PlayStation 2 back then. And when I joined Twitch somewhere around November 2020 during the pandemic, that's when I rediscovered my love for like gaming. Like the very things that got me enticed and hooked into gaming as a kid, it sort of reappeared in my life later when I found out about Twitch. So that's how I rediscovered my love for gaming. And there are games that are not just, competitive, co-op, shooting. There's more to that. Visual novels,
Hmm.
story-driven, decision-based games. Those are that's what drives me when it comes to games. And I also love other stuff, I'm not just a whole gamer. I love stuff like, baking, cooking, photography. I'm queer and I'm proud. Just don't tell my parents yet. And I have big dreams to like, move out of this country and be fully independent. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it about me. There's not a lot, but that's that. Yeah.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Everybody's got a backstory, and it's your story, so that's perfectly fine. So you're 19. When do you turn 20, approximately?
Oh, sorry. I should re-clarify this. I'm turning 19 later this year in December. So
Oh,
technically,
okay.
I'm
So you're
still
actually
18.
18. Okay.
Yeah, I'm technically still 18.
So
Yes.
so did you just start college?
So I started college around last year, August. Technically most people my age, because we finished school at the age of 17, and we would typically start college when we're 18. So due to the pandemic, that whole process was delayed.
Mhm.
I started college August last year, when I probably should have started like a few months earlier. But yeah, so I started in August. I will finish in August this year as well, and next year January I'm going to re-enroll to continue my bachelor's program.
Oh, that's good. And what are you studying?
So I'm doing computer science.
Computer science? Are you going for like coding or integrated works or what?
I'm moving more towards website development and design.
Okay.
That's the niche which I particularly like. But for now, I'm just learning the generic stuff, the generals about computer science. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Um, so are you a full time student, or do you have a job on the side, or?
So I am a full-time student. I did try going for like job hunting, but
Mhm.
with the pandemic still pretty like raging on, it's quite hard to find for jobs, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. And you probably want to stay home anyway. Do you go to attend college remotely from your home?
So I used to attend college like remotely back in my first semester last year,
Hmm.
but now like cases are sort of lightening up, and I it's a hybrid situation. So
Okay.
we do have like some online classes, but the smaller classes which have about 30 or 40 people in them, those are physical. So I do travel to college for those physical classes.
Okay. That's good. So if you were to continue on with your course in computer science and get your degree, how long would that take you then to get your degree and get ready to enter the workforce?
So I estimate by the end of the year 2025,
Okay.
maybe 2026, that's when I would be fully done with my degree, and that's when I can start like entering the workforce, unless I choose to pursue my master's degree,
Right.
which I'm still not sure if I'm gonna do that yet.
Okay. That's good. All right. So let's get a little bit more deep now. Why don't you talk to us about like something that's important to you as a person that may not be important to other people, but like you personally, this is something that is really important to you in the world.
All right, that's actually a really good question. And there are many important things to me personally. I'll keep it short and simple. I have three things which are very important. First of them is my friends. So my friends are the ones who like keep me rooted to the ground. They're my rock. And without my friends, I would probably be very lost because these are the people that have been supporting me like almost my whole life. And I'm very appreciative of them for that. Next would also be my identity. So I'm a queer person, I'm also Indian, and to me this is very important because I had to overcome a lot of obstacles to make peace with the fact that this is who I am.
Yes.
It wasn't exactly an easy journey to, get here to get to where I am and be proud about this identity of mine. So that's very important to me. And last but not the least, I would say would be my passions. So my passions are what keep they're what keep me like, going in life. It's like my driving force. So yeah, those are my three important stuff: my friends, my passions, and my identity.
Okay, so what is it that you're passionate about? If you could elaborate a little bit more, besides gaming, because we're gonna just most of the people that I'm gonna be interviewing on here are gamers anyway. So we will have a segment in each one of those that more deeply explores gaming. So aside from gaming, what are you passionate about personally?
So personally, I love baking and cooking, culinary arts. That's one of my bigger passions. Now, I'm not like a very elaborate baker. Like you go to some fancy restaurants, you see like stuff like souffles, creme brulees. I'm a simple person. I like making cakes, cookies, and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it started at a very young age when I would help my mom make special like cookies and whatnot for any special occasions, or if it's someone's birthday whatsoever. I would help my mom do it when I was like maybe like 4, 5 years old, give or take. And now I'm fully independent and I learned how to like bake on my own. A lot of things. Like I don't go to culinary college, but I do like take pleasure in, the simple joys of baking, to be honest. So yeah.
That's nice, and I have seen you post a couple of pictures of your baked goods on Skyfer's channel. And if you, I know we're actually doing our interview here in the Conflux Discord. Feel free to post some of your food items there. We have plenty of people, including myself, that love looking at pictures of delicious food, and just kind of like drooling while we're looking at the fantastic food that you create. So uh, yeah, that's great that you have such a nice uh, niche fashion there, or passion, that you're like you can easily just maybe go into that mode and go cook something and be happy about it. um I think that's fantastic. Have you like, are there any celebrity chefs that you're a big fan of?
The more I think about it, there's not a lot personally. Well, I know everyone's gonna imagine I'm gonna say like, oh, Gordon Ramsay, because he
Yeah.
is a very talented chef. But like, I'm not. I don't really look up to a lot of celebrity chefs, if I'm being honest.
Hmm.
Well, there are a few though. So one of it, his name is Chef Wan, WAN. He is a local Malaysian chef, and he has, he sort of brought Malaysia to the forefront when it comes to the culinary arts section, and he's one of like the more renowned chefs here in Malaysia. Another chef would probably be Anna Olsen. She's a pastry chef, very talented, and she has multiple cooking and baking shows. So a lot of the recipes which I bake tend to be Chef Anna Olsen's recipe, and um, I really love like the way she approaches recipes and baking. She's one of the more extraordinary people whom I've seen when it comes in the culinary world. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Gordon Ramsay, I mean, yeah, he's probably pretty well known as a chef, but I think he's more well known for using the word fuck and yelling at people in the kitchen and making them cry. And He's it's more
Definitely, yeah,
controversial and uh like let's say made for TV, you know. But yeah,
for
that's
sure.
great. So I posted a couple of links about the people you were talking about. I just Google searched real quick if anybody wants to check out those chefs that maybe inspire Luke here. All right, let's move on. And let's talk a little bit about your life. And you don't have to get too detailed because, of course, this is still the internet and we want to protect the anonymity here. Um, but why don't you talk to us a little bit about your life in general and if there's anything that you've come across, any kind of situations that you would change? Like, not necessarily regrets, but like you look back on something that happened in your life and you're like, yeah, I wish that would have maybe gone a little bit differently.
Mm, hmm. If I'm being honest, like, of course, there are a lot of regrets in my life. Like, a lot of things which I've looked at past, I'm like, oh man, I should have done it, should have done like something else, and stuff like that. But now that I look forward at it, like in hindsight, of course, I realized that these are the sort of situations that have helped shaped who I am today. I've had like a lot of like things, of course, I regret in the past. For example, I used to take music classes, so I would learn the violin, I would learn the
Hmm.
flute, and a part of me wished I committed towards like learning these classes because learning these instruments because I was actually one of like the best in my music school back at that time. I learned the violin for 6 years, the flute for 3 years, and I just sort of lost interest in them, and things just fell apart with it. I sort of wish I committed and actually pursued those instruments even more. However, that being said, like that's just a minor regret. Like I'm sort of happy that I didn't fully pursue it because I've managed to take the time to learn more instruments on my own. So I learned a tiny bit, like just a little bit of the guitar. I play the keyboard now, and a little bit of the piano as well. So it's just like these small like instances which I don't fully regret it. There's only like partial regrets, but I've acknowledged that these are the moments that helped to shape who I am today, and I don't think I would have changed it like in any other way. I guess I do have like things I would like to change in the future, but not so much of like my past. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so about your future now. See, Isnib in our live chat there has suggested that you should revisit your education with musical instruments a little bit later. Like you said, you spent more time with the violin and the flute. Is that what I heard right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe not so much with the piano or keyboard. That you, it sounds like you kind of dabbled with that a little bit, but maybe at some point in the future you want to revisit that. Is that something that you could see yourself doing? Not necessarily maybe in a professional sense, but just in a personal sense for your own fulfillment to be able to have a little more mastery over the violin and the flute.
I would, yeah, like so I've always had this like passion of like with music, and I've always wanted to revisit these instruments in the future. Maybe when I live in a more private area where I don't have to like bother anyone with my horrible playing skills, but that would be definitely what I would love to do, revisit these instruments. The reason why I haven't been doing them now, it's mainly because like I've become quite busy with like college and like dabbling in other instruments as well. And number two, I lost my violin. I have
Oh,
no idea where's my it's hilarious. How does one lose
I
like a violin's quite big. It's
no,
not a small, tiny instrument. But I've lost it. I can't find for it. So I have to like dig through all the cabinets and find for like where is that goddamn violin. But once I can find for it, I'm definitely gonna
okay.
100%. I'm definitely gonna start like going back for it and relearning everything which I've learned in the past. But I think for now, my focus is learning more instruments because I that's how I gain like like pleasure. Like I love learning more about other instruments, of course. So maybe like revisiting them is a secondary option. My primary goal is to learn more instruments. Like jack of
Okay.
all trades, master of none, but always better than a master of one.
Well, and see, the great thing about music is that the mechanics of notation and musicology, that's all the same. That doesn't change. The only thing that changes maybe is like the variants for each instrument and how to actually play the same kind of sheet music. Um, so with your background, it sounds like you could easily transfer that over and pick up a new instrument and more easily learn than if you were trying to learn music from scratch with that new instrument. You know.
I would I would sort of agree with you, partially agree, but one of the biggest problems is that I actually should have mentioned this earlier. When I learned like the music, so just the Western violin that Aaron is accustomed to and all that stuff, but I played the classical Indian violin.
Okay.
So we don't. It's exactly the same instrument, but the playing style is different. The things that we learn are different. We have our own notation system as well,
Oh, see, I
um,
didn't know
and
that.
yeah, it's totally different. And with the flute as well, it's not like a metallic flute or a jazz flute. It's actually a bamboo flute. If I can find, I'll definitely post some links in the chat so that you guys can
Yeah,
get a better description of what I'm talking about.
I'm looking
But
at it now.
yeah, sure. But like these are like they are quite different compared to what most people are accustomed to. And so learning these more Western instruments, learning the chord notations, the tabulature, and so on and so on, it's quite it's gonna be like relearning a new thing altogether. And it's gonna be tough, but so far I'm pulling through. In fact, with the piano and keyboard though, I don't learn how to read like notations, music sheets, and whatsoever. I just learn, like, I play by ear. I sort of listen and I just start playing. That's how I learn. But yeah, so
Oh, yeah,
that's the
no,
difference.
what I posted
The
there
major
is
difference
completely
between,
wrong.
yeah.
I don't know. I just searched classic Indian violin, and that's what came up. Akarai, and you posted the
This is
Bansuri.
Yeah, so this is pretty much the classical Indian violin. So the bansuri is what the flute is called, but I just call it the
Oh,
flute,
okay,
to be
okay.
honest. But
So
yeah.
yeah, I was looking at that. I'm like, that doesn't look like a violin. Okay, so that's the flute, and that's also a traditional Indian instrument, the bansuri.
So yeah, fun fact though, like the flute was something that's it was our own instrument. We created it. I believe Chinese culture has their own form of the flute as well, and of course Western music there is like the classic metallic flute that we're
Right.
all accustomed to. With the violin though, so it's actually a Western instrument at first, but the Indians sort of like took it and adapted it into their own music, which is kind of a common thing to do in Indian music. So I think towards the late 19th century, the violin became a little bit more popular in Indian music, and people started pioneering it in terms of the classical Indian ways, rather than just learning the Western instruments itself. Yeah.
Cool. That's very nice. Yeah, so it sounds like that uh, as part of your passion is something that you really want to revisit at some point in the near future. You know, as you start to get further into adulthood and make that more of your uh, repertoire. So, yeah, that's great. I love that. All right. So now let's ask a different kind of question. And also, if there's anybody here in our live chat that would like to ask a question of our guest, the Big Zang Theory, also known as Luke, please go ahead and post them in the chat, and I will ask. Um, uh, what I'd like to ask you now is the way you see the world and the way you see how everything happens in the news and in relationships with other people, what would your message to the world be?
I would say live in the moment. Enjoy your life while it lasts and don't be afraid to take on new challenges. Because you don't want to spend your later years regretting what you didn't do. You want to spend your later years, like, laughing back at all the funny and the stupid stuff which you have done in the past. Like, that's how you want to enjoy your life, wouldn't it? So just live in the moment. Like, take up new stuff. Be safe, of course. Stay in school, don't do drugs. Drink responsibly, stuff like that, I guess. But at the same time, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I've started trying to live my life by that principle, and I can see that it has changed quite a bit. So I'm definitely more outgoing and more interested in other stuff as well. And for now, I don't have a lot of regrets. So yeah.
Okay. What kind of goals would you set for yourself and that you have for the future? Not only short term, like in the next 5 to 10 years, but further on until you're an old man and you're sitting there, I'm an old man. Yeah.
So I do have a couple of like goals in life, but there was also a point in my life where I didn't have any goals. I just want to get through the moment. But
Right.
now that I'm sort of past that phase, my current goals, like if you talk about short-term goals, um I want to start living a little bit more independently. I want to be able to find like a job, like a part-time job, and because I live with my parents now, like most college students here do actually. um I live with my parents, and I want to be able to find like an apartment or a condo and just like live it by my own terms as well. So that's I want to do that during my years in college and university, of course. Other goals which are sort of like a little bit more long term would be I want to like increase my experiences on Twitch. So I am quite active on Twitch, but I'm not actively seeking out new streamers and new people to meet out. I'm just like friends with whom I'm currently on at the moment. And I would love to like start meeting out new people, meet new connections as well, and just be a little bit more successful on the Twitch platform itself. I would say my success is pretty all right as of now. I'm doing pretty okay. I like where I am, but I don't mind, going for more, of course. And maybe like in the distant future, something like when I'm looking back at my life and, just kicking it and relaxing, I kind of want to move out of this country. So I guess like many people would paint Malaysia as, a very beautiful country. We have like, really beautiful buildings, beautiful sceneries, great diving spots, beaches, whatnot. But if I'm being honest, there is a lot of political unrest in this country. It's not as bad as other states where there are wars going on whatsoever, but it's definitely that sort of situation that where me as a minority in both sexuality and race, it sort of makes more sense for me to live in another country to find somewhere else because um things are better off in other countries. Maybe places like Canada and America where like um equal equal rights are a little bit more of a thing over there. Like take this for example, we still have something called the Penal Code, which is a law that is like it's an anti-gay law. Basically, people like me, we can't go around and live our truth more freely and have more freedom of expression. Mainly, it's because that it's my existence is technically illegal. I could be jailed, I could be fined, I could even be both, even whipped. I could be done all of that because of my bisexuality, simply putting it. So I definitely would love to, live in another country where I don't have to fear all of this. Like I don't have to constantly live my life in fear where like is someone gonna come by and start like arresting me? Is someone gonna come by and start, um constantly making me live my life in fear. So that's really why I would love to move out of this country. I've accepted that changing our laws, it's going to be a very hard. We are a very conservative country, so it might be easier for me to move out and start afresh somewhere else. So yeah, those are my goals. I would love to increase my Twitch viewership. I would love to put myself out there more and move out of this country and be a bit more independent.
Um, Before I have you elaborate a little bit on that, I want to ask you a small, quick question. If you were to set a goal for the future, when do you think that might be possible for you to actually move to a different country?
I see maybe anytime within the next um 5 to 6 years, 5 to 7 years, give or take. Mainly
Okay.
it's because with college, with my university, they have some like transfership programs where I could study overseas, and I've taken some advice because I do have a couple of streamer friends who have done the same actually. They studied overseas and now they have um migrated to other countries as well. So that's what I'm planning to do as well. Maybe like my university offers Australia and and England as like countries I can study in. So I can use that sort of like as a leeway to um successfully move out to another country. Yeah.
Okay, so he's isn't best the question any particular countries, and you did mention America or Canada, and then you just mentioned the UK. Is there any other specific country that might appeal to you, and more so than just tolerance of LGBT, but like it's a country that you have seen or visited, and it appeals to you to like be a resident of that country?
Right at the top of my head, like of course there's America, but looking at like the living condition, I'm sorry to no offense to you guys there, but like with the minimum wage and how it looks like, cost of rent and all that, America's kind of low on my list of countries to go
Yeah.
actually. What's sort of a little bit higher would probably be like Canada and Australia.
Hmm.
So these countries seem pretty alright, to be honest, like of course in terms of tolerance, but quality of life is also pretty decent over there. The only problem I would say is that climate. So I'm over here in Malaysia. Currently, it's not too bad. Like it was raining pretty heavily earlier, so it's quite cooling. But on average, our climate is about 95 degrees Fahrenheit,
Hmm.
and it's very very humid. So it might be 95 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels like 120.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, with that
Whereas in
humidity.
contrast to like, yeah, the humidity really kills us all. But in like other countries like Canada and Australia, it's freezing cold in comparison. Like the climate is really really cold and chilly over there. But I guess it's something I have to like tolerate it, I guess. I kind of want to go to Australia as well because people do seem quite friendly there. However, Australia is known to be like, the country which has a ton of, dangerous stuff like spiders.
Yeah.
Why would anyone willingly live with spiders?
And
Like just
scorpions
casually
and
seeing like a giant spider in the corner of your room is no big deal for them. And Slide mentioned that there's
yeah,
still dinosaurs in Australia. Why would
yeah,
anyone want to go to Australia? Beats me. But
yep.
those are sort of my options, I guess. Yeah.
Kangaroos that just want to punch the hell out of you, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, what you said about the climate is no joke. Now, how close are you in Malaysia to the equator?
We are actually right on the
Oh,
equator
right on
line.
the
So
equator.
like
Okay.
right on it, yeah. So like especially the capital, like we are right there. And because of that, that's what gives us that very hot
Yeah.
climate. And us being right on the equator line, we don't experience 4 seasons. So we don't experience like spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The seasons that we have it's um rain, sun, haze, and fruit. We have like fruit seasons. That's what we experience over here.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Um, yeah. So climate wise, like I mean, if you move to Canada in the summer, Canada, depending again where you are, like if you're in the southern half, that's closer to the top end of America, it usually probably gets like uh, probably no higher than like 80 or 90. I'd say is usually the top end for the southern half of Canada in the summer. In the winter, I've seen it get as low as minus 40, and this is on the Fahrenheit scale, right? Yeah. So that wind chill can be brutal up there. Hell, we even had in the northern part of America, in Minnesota. I remember it was not this past winter, but I think the winter before they were reporting a wind chill of minus 40 in Minnesota in St. Paul. Yeah, so that's quite a change from the climate you're in now. Um, you probably have to bundle up a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Like it definitely is like a huge difference. Because the lowest temperature we would get over here would probably be like 25 Celsius, which would give or take I don't know, I can't do maths. Maybe around like 60 Fahrenheit, give or take. That's like our lowest that we experience. So and for us like 25 Celsius is already really cold. Like it's cooling enough for us. So and I did hear like especially last year, like in Texas, there was like a freak winter storm and like
Yeah.
a lot of my friends over in the Texas were like really struggling to even like just stay warm and keep up with like how cold it is. So
And actually,
uh
25
yeah.
Celsius equals 77 Fahrenheit, so maybe 75 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, maybe 75 Fahrenheit would be the lowest, not even 60. So
Yeah.
60 was maybe like a few years ago before global warming was a thing, but 75 Fahrenheit would probably be, give or take, what's the the lowest they've experienced. On average, it just tends to be 35 95.
Now, you're of Indian descent.
That's right.
Is your ancestry directly from India?
So, well, I while I always say that I'm Indian, I guess the proper term would be South Asian because, so my mom's side, her her great grandfather is from India. He migrated over to Malaysia, and on my dad's side, my grandfather is actually from Sri Lanka, which is directly south of India. So technically, if we were to be following like my maternal side, I would be like the fourth generation of Indians living in Malaysia. But
Okay.
since we follow a more paternal patriarchal system with when it comes to generations, I'm only like the second generation of South Asians living in Malaysia. But yeah, my roots are do they do go quite back in India. So yeah.
Okay. Have you visited any other countries as of yet, or have you been the whole time, your whole life in Malaysia?
So I have visited a couple of other countries. We are a quite small country, so it's sort of like if you have the money, it's easier to like go visit other countries. I've been to Singapore. Our more famous neighbor, Singapore. When like I ask people, "Have you heard of Malaysia?" They'll be like, "No, but I think I know your neighbor, Singapore." So it's kind of annoying. But yes, I have been to Singapore twice. I've been to Myanmar. I've also been to India. I've been to India only twice, and I've been to New Zealand. New Zealand's one of my favorite countries to actually to visit.
Yeah,
So yeah.
New Zealand is very beautiful. So I'm glad you said that you visited India, because I wanted to ask you, how does everybody knows that knows a little bit about geography knows that India as a country is also very hot. So now you're telling us that Malaysia, that's directly on the equator, never really gets below like 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And right now it's 95 because it's cooling down. So we're talking about typically an average of 100, 105, maybe 110 there. How does that compare
Yeah.
to like the temperature and how the climate is in India?
So believe it, like okay, I visited India around I think it was about back in 2019, late 2019, and I also visited it in 2013. That time it was pretty hot and the climate was more or less the same. But now I believe during the summertime, because India actually experienced the four seasons, they also have winter, summer, fall, and spring. So during summertime, it can temperatures can go up to about like 120, 130 actually, Fahrenheit. But during the winter time, it can get really cold. So it can go down maybe to about 40
Oh,
Fahrenheit.
okay.
Um, Again, really cold. Like 40 Fahrenheit is very cold for me. So
Right.
but that's like what India is. So they because they experience the four seasons there, their climate does fluctuate quite a lot. Yeah.
And what's the hottest temperature that you can remember experiencing in Malaysia?
The hottest temperature was, I'm trying to recall.
Like
I
I got a
think it
converter
was,
here too. If you tell me
yeah.
in Celsius.
No, sorry, I have a converter too. I
Oh, okay.
think the hottest was 120. That was actually the hottest.
Okay.
120 to 123, give or take. And that was like we were experiencing a very large like weather heat wave. It was called the El Nino weather pattern, the heat wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like people were getting heat strokes left, right, center. Like everyone was just like being taken to the hospital. I remember people in my school. This was back in like secondary school, so just a couple of years ago. People were being rushed to the hospital, and students who were like what do you call, those students who were like well versed in first aid like myself, we had to go around like cooling people down, had to keep making sure everyone was, constantly drinking water, like staying hydrated. It was really bad. back at that time, and it was like 120 Celsius. That was like the hottest day ever. It felt like much worse, to be honest, because of the humidity as well.
Yeah, we had gotten some effects from El Nino. Um, Mostly that was the west coast of America, California, and that had experienced some weird weather because of that. And in America now, our southernmost part at the bottom of Texas is probably the closest to the equator, which is further down in like Panama area, but it actually is much hotter in our desert, which is in Arizona and New Mexico. And that we have this one area called Death Valley that typically is getting to be the hottest. And I think the record for Death Valley is about the same, 122, 123. But that's the middle of the desert. That's not the majority of the country here either. Um, so I can't even imagine. I think the hottest that we've gotten where I live, which is in the northern part of Ohio, is maybe 110. Maybe. I don't think we've really peaked higher than that in my lifetime. So
110 is pretty like standard for what we
yeah.
receive, I guess. So I would probably be safe. Yeah.
So you'd be comfortable in the middle of the desert, probably. You're used to that.
Probably, but preferably not.
No, yeah,
Like, I definitely do not want to just go stand in the middle of the desert. Like, nah, that's not my thing.
yep. There you
We
go.
love our air conditioning over here.
Yeah, you want to move to a different country? Just go stand in the middle of the desert for your rest of your.
I'll survive. Some side effects, but hey, I'll survive.
Yeah, and I mean AC is a big thing here too, but we typically use it for like anything over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're kind of babies in that regard here. We get over 80 and it's starting to get like I don't know. Steph babies who lives she lives kind of like in the middle to the northern part, and her brother Slight that's in the chat of California. They're more used to like the bright sunshine all the time, and the higher temperatures. She likes it right around 85, and yeah, no, that's too hot for us over here. We're
I
walking
guess
around.
like,
We're walking around in shorts outside when it's like 50 degrees out.
oh my god. I guess like you did mention like 85 is like what do you prefer with that? The thing is that I when I went to like New Zealand, the temperatures were more or less the same. I think it peaked at like 95 over there.
Okay.
But the thing is that it's more like enticing to go out and just spend time on the beach at the sun. Like the sun shining down on your face, it's not that bad because
Right.
it feels warm. But over here it's like it's burning your face. You're gonna get sunburned. You won't get suntanned.
Right.
But that's like the huge weather difference there. And there's always like a cool breeze blowing every now and then. So you don't feel, despite the weather's being like 95 over there when I visited, it didn't feel like it. It felt really felt really cool, and it was pretty safe actually. So yeah.
Cool. All right. We're gonna take a short commercial break and then come back. This is interviews with normal, extraordinary people, and my guest this evening is the Big Zing Theory, also known as Luke. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in just a short minute. Okay. So, um, in doing a lot of these interviews as I want to in the future, there's a lot of different questions that I can ask that um, give us an idea of who you are as a person. But I want to break from that for just a second to ask you a little bit more about the political conditions, because I know that this has come up more than once in Skyfer's channel, and you're a mod for Skyfer, and he's talked quite a bit about how where he lives in Indonesia, it's the same thing, and that is a merging of religious beliefs and the government, and they're basically saying that their religious belief that being a gay person, being anything LGBTQ, is inherently a sin, and therefore it is also a crime. It's against the law. Now, that's one of the things here in America that I can say without a doubt. This is something that almost everybody across the world recognizes, is that there's supposed to be this separation between religion and government, and your religious beliefs should never influence the government into saying that that sort of thing is a crime. Where is the victim in the crime of being gay? So for the government to have that as a law and persecute you as a person, um, at least to Americans, we just see that as completely wrong. And I'm sure as you have spent time finding who you are and coming to terms with the fact of your sexuality, that you've done a lot of reading and a lot of research, just as somebody like Skyfer or anybody else that's in that position has done. What does it mean to you to have the government of Malaysia involved in that sort of religious moral decision, and what would you like to see happen with that in the future? How would you like to see that change?
So to give like a quick like description, a descriptor of what the current situation is like in Malaysia, um, I guess yes, there is one political unrest. We don't have the best prime ministers. In fact, even though we're a democratic country, we also have our own royalty, which is a little bit complicated. And our due to like the pandemic and other stuff, we didn't even elect our current prime minister. So we don't have a president, we have a prime minister. Um, and that sort of sucks because it's not like he's doing a good job. Yet we can't say a lot about we can't openly talk about these stuff that much. We can say some stuff. That being said, there is like the Sedition Act, which means we can't like talk shit about the government or like the royalty and stuff like that. Moving towards like in terms of like religion and the government. So like of course in America there is the separation of church from the state. Here we don't have that. So the majority religion is Islam. It is We are not an Islamic country officially. We are considered a secular country. It just so happens that um, our official religion is Islam. If that sounds complicated, it is quite confusing to many people actually. Even to us, it's confusing. But because of that, because of how populous Islam is in Malaysia, we have like the Sharia law. So the Sharia law is a sort of law that's it's this was back in ancient Arab, where uh, during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, when he was around and down on earth, they created this law in order to make sure that there is some sort of control in that area. Because this is something that we learn in our history books. Back then, things were just a mess, a total mess. So the Sharia law was introduced back then. The Sharia law today in modern times, it's not implemented amongst non-Muslims. So if you aren't Muslim, then you're free from the Sharia law. You just have to face federal law, the federal law. The thing is that because of this integration between religion, Islamic religion, and as well as the government, there are a lot of laws that are influenced by um, it sort of indirectly is influencing our federal law. And even if it's not influencing it, like if laws were not being created in relations to the Sharia law or Islamic religion itself, our existing laws are staying because of the Islamic law. So take the there is a I forgot what's the name of the law in particular. But it's a law that was introduced during the British colonial era. Forgive my English, but
That's all right.
it
That's
was
all right.
it was introduced in that time, and it basically prevents something called unnatural sex. It's a huge umbrella term. that's used for to describe oral sex, anal sex, sex between people of the same gender, and sex between people and animals. So it was introduced by the British back then, and um, the reason why it stays is because of the Islamic religion, because the primary focus of that particular law is gay sex. That's what they're focusing a lot on, and because in Islam it is haram, or it is illegal to have gay sex. That's why that law is still here. That's why that law has not been repealed. So yeah, like what Isnib said, because of the goddamn Brits. What? Wait, Isnib, you're British, aren't you? Shit. Anyways,
Oh, no. Isnib is an asshole. Don't.
okay, so
Let's
is this
not
an
mince
asshole?
words.
Don't
Yeah,
worry, no.
goddamn Brits.
Because like a lot of laws that were introduced by the British, they remain till today, um, because of and what keeps them going is because of Islamic law and how it sort of supports those particular laws. So yeah, that's like what the current situation is. Laws introduced by the British remain because of the Islamic religion, and Islamic religion have their own Sharia law. So that's one. I guess how I would like to see this change in the future. I would love to see separation of church and the state. I would love to see that. I don't think that's very realistic here though, because in I live in central Malaysia near the capital, so things are pretty alright here. However, in states like such as north of Malaysia and the east coast of Malaysia, these are states which are heavily ruled by Islamic political parties. Yes, our own political parties are ruled by are often governed by religion, so that sucks. These states are so heavily influenced by religion that if people were to sort of take away Sharia law or repeal certain laws that Islam like supports, they would cause a huge uproar basically. In fact, um, there are a lot of like I guess the word would be extremist um, political religious parties that prevent like freedom of speech or like freedom of like expression. Take like for example, a few years ago, my university had this thing called what you call we had like a pride run basically, like we want to have like a pride festival, but it was cancelled because of so much pressure from these religious political parties. They have so much control in their jurisdictions to the point it spreads to other parts. So that's how it is in Malaysia. We can't really see like a separation of the church and the state going on in the future, at least in the near future. People are becoming a little bit more liberal minded, but this country is still pretty conservative. So it's quite of like it's a little bit hard for me to envision myself staying here longer. Maybe in the next 100 years, who knows? Once I'm dead, maybe things will be much better. But if you say maybe in the next 20 or 50 years, there's going to be very minimal change. While we do have more liberal minded people, like there is some like prominent like political figures, um it's still a pretty big change for us to like make. So I don't think that's gonna happen. So there you have it. You have like how we have integration of church and the state. We have British laws introduced back then and they're staying because of Islamic law. We have Sharia law, and we have how like potentially these laws are gonna stay for a long time because of pressure from religious political parties.
So, as you were talking about that, the first thing is I posted a link in the chat that is a Wikipedia page on Sharia law. So, if you've never heard of that, it is, like Luke said, uh, it's basically like the code of ethics that rules the the people of the Islamic religion, Muslims. So, um, if you want to learn more about Sharia law, that's a good place to start. I picked up years ago a copy of the Quran from a friend of mine who was Muslim, and uh, just so I have that handy, and it's in English. I can't read whatever language that's in. So he got me an English copy so that I can actually, when I need to look at the actual text of the Quran and learn about it a little bit more. But there's one thing that you said that kind of caught me, and that is that you're a democracy in Malaysia. And maybe you're a democracy, but it seems like it's severely limited form of democracy because one, you said you basically have a monarchy, a royal ruling class, which is very similar to the way United Kingdom is. They have their royalty, but then they also have their representatives in parliament and things like that. But then you go even a step further and you say, okay, now the political parties are kind of controlling basically everything that happens with government policy. And I thought to myself, well, that's not really democracy. To me, that sounds more like theocracy, where you basically have a government that's run by religious leaders. So, can you
Yeah.
comment a little on that?
So the thing is, in our books, in like our constitution and like our textbook, our school textbooks, it stated that in Malay the term is called democratic berparlimen, which means parliamentary democracy sort of style. The thing is, we have our kings and queens from way back then, when pre-independence era, in fact pre-colonialization era, before like we got ruled by the Portuguese, Dutch, British, Japanese, British again, and then independence. Um, so like because we had like kings and queens for quite some time, they still retain till today. The thing is that they don't have a lot of power while they oversee the biggest changes here. However, 90% of the change, I would say, is made by prime ministers and other people in political party. The king and queen literally just sit there and oversee the stuff that's happening. Now I can't say too much, but I can't give my most honest input on this because of the Sedition Act. If this gets leaked to the government, I'm going to be screwed. Like literally royally fucked over the government. But what I can tell you is that there have been some people that have been advocating to, what if you just abolish the royalty? Like, what if we dismantle a royalty? Because in India, take India for example, they used to be a very monarch. They used to be living by monarchy. That's how the country was ruled. Um, but then the one of the prime ministers, I believe Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the first prime minister of India, he said, you know what, now fuck the patriarch, fuck the monarchy, and he really just abolished and gotten rid of all the special status that um royalty in India had. So some people in Malaysia are thinking, what if you did that? What happens if you did that? Nothing big's gonna happen, right? Like it's gonna be um more fully democratic. But we can't do that because they hold too much power, and they would just start complaining, saying that, oh, they would lose their power, this and that. So uh it's quite of a weird situation, to be honest. We have like them who just oversees like the things, you know like we have like they're just sort of overseeing what's going on. They don't say a lot, they don't step in a lot, but sometimes they do have to step in when it's necessary. For example, when um our latest prime minister was elected, it was elected by we call it the Agong, which is the king of Malaysia. I probably should mention this. So you have like the king of Malaysia, and almost every single state has its own sultan, its own like king that governs that state as well. And yet each state has its own like state representative and member of parliament. So if you're confused by government and Malaysian politics, don't worry. Most of us are. We don't really understand what's going on either.
Well,
All we know is,
and,
yeah,
and,
all we know is that there's a change. Yeah, there
and
needs to be a
see,
change.
that's what I was trying to get at, is that a lot of people think that, like the United Kingdom, and just as you described Malaysia, is that it's a kind of a blending between a democratic process and a monarchy. But the monarchy can overrule the democratic process at any point. So, do you really have a true democratic process there? if the monarch can just go, nope, sorry, you can't have what you want.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. Like, I guess we would say no. The truth is, there is democracy to a certain extent, but with the monarchy in place, it's not a full democracy.
Right.
Um, and as of lately, it has been more of a theocratic situation because our monarchy is their religion. They are also Islamic people. They're Muslims. With that being said, like because of that, like that's like the biggest fear of influence. So we don't have like a full democratic system. It's more theocratic, and as of lately, some might even argue it's more of a dictatorship rather than democracy. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, for like two or three the past 2 or 3 like elections, like our 2 or 3 prime ministers, they were elected by, guess who, the king of Malaysia.
Yeah.
And
So
it was like
that's
prior to that it
that's
was
not an
elected by
election. That's an appointment.
exactly, it's an appointment. Exactly. The past what do you call, like, prior to those, we were fully elected by the um it was fully elected by the people of Malaysia. And of course, yes, there have been some instances where, like, people try to tamper with the results of elections. There was infamously during our sixth prime minister, during his re-election, there was a quote unquote blackout at one of the election
Oh yeah.
results collection centers.
No.
So people just started stepping in and messing up with the results. That was kind of like, in hindsight, it's hilarious because the same guys has been um he has been involved with like the 1MDB scandal alongside Goldman Sachs, and it's hilarious to like
Yeah.
watch how all of that unfold. But yeah, that's how it is. Actually, it's more of a theocratic situation now, somewhat dictatorship. Democracy is sort of dying down in this country.
No, that's a shame. All right. So to finish out that conversation, I just have one more quick question. So I'm assuming that because of that stance that you, with your sexuality, are not really welcome with that whole government system. I'm assuming that you would do whatever you can. That if you were moving to another country, you would avoid any other country like in the Middle East, the Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Turkey, any of these other places that have an Islamic style of rule over the government.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely like avoid these countries because see, like, if you think the law here with queer people is quite bad, like we can get either jailed for a certain amount of time, fined, or we could get whipped. Like they have an actual whip and you can literally just get whipped. It's a very painful whip. Like one stroke of the whip can easily tear your skin
Really?
apart. That's how painful it is. We're
You,
not kid. We don't mess around with the law.
my
But
God.
in other countries, like, it's quite illegal to be gay as well. In fact, some laws explicitly state being gay is not allowed. Here it's stated that sex between people of the same gender is not allowed. There is it being a homosexual is prohibited. And in some countries like Brunei, which is a neighboring country in the Borneo Islands, um you can get stoned to death for
Yeah.
being gay. In some countries you can be executed, you can get like the death sentence. The death penalty still exists in those countries. And like in Brunei, Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, Iran and Iraq especially, you can literally die for being gay. And it's quite of a mess over there.
See, and I got to imagine that this is a universal thing throughout the entire world. People look at stuff like that and they go, "Yeah, that's not quite right." There's still though quite a few people that do think that is right, that that's the way that you treat people because they're trying to create a better world or whatever, is at the foundation, and they think that you're the problem, just like Hitler thought the Jews were the problem. Or if you want to look at something in modern day, besides what's going on with that kind of a persecution in Malaysia, in Russia right now, and for the last 2 years, Jehovah's Witnesses as a religion have just been put in prison for being Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's just like, somehow somewhere somebody gets this idea that persecuting small group of people, a minority, is a good thing to build a better society. And even here in America, we still have a lot of problems with that, with minorities being persecuted. Even LGBT, which I mean, there's been enormous strides with the rights of that, and treating them like real people in America over the last several years. We just had the Supreme Court basically say that marriage between anybody is a thing. You can actually get married, and that just passed, what I think, back in 2016 here. But it took that long for that sort of thing to come up.
It did, yeah. And when we look like as an from an outsider's perspective, when we look at this sort of like situations, we are thinking like, oh my god, it really took you guys that long to get like equal rights for marriage equality basically. That being said, we are envious because we don't have marriage equality. In fact, like not only is there like the laws in being in place, there's also the heavy stigma surrounding queer marriage in Malaysia, and how it's illegal and all that, blah blah blah. So that's the thing. We sort of get envious when we look at other countries with marriage equality. While we do understand that marriage equality right now is currently being like threatened of sorts, with a lot of like American lawmakers, the Republicans in particular, being threatening that sort of stuff going on. And I also see in America how some people, like, no offense to you guys, but some people over there are just idiots, and I don't know why they're ruling, why they're in the
Some,
lawmaking process.
most of
But
the people over here are idiots.
that's fair, yeah. Like I did see like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene say that the Catholic Church is being like overruled by Satan. I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? Like these people are just pulling stuff out of their ass, and like we are wondering like, are you guys in America okay, to be honest? But over here, like in Malaysia itself, we aren't doing the best either. What I can say for sure though is that in many other countries, not just Malaysia, America has become almost a laughing stock in like your lawmakings. I apologize if this is offensive, but America has become like people laugh at America, saying
Oh yeah, I
like
know.
at how stupid you guys are. So
I
how
know.
stupid like the laws in America are. So yeah.
Yeah, it's also kind of declined here, especially I'd say in just the last like 20 years, since maybe 2000. Um, we've had a lot more issues with stupidity and the kind of things that lead to that, and I'd say race relations, like the tensions between like black and white and uh, black and Asian, is gone way up in the last 20 years in America, and it's not necessarily like because there's more racists out there, although that I'm sure that's part of it. I think it's a lot of it is a lack of respect. Like people just don't know how to respect the other people that they encounter anymore. So without taking a lot of time away from you, because this is your interview, I just want to mention to anybody that's in the chat that's interested in this sort of thing that I'm going to have a broader discussion on July 3rd with myself. It's just going to be like me ranting basically and presenting some information on freedom. And it's going to be the day before our Independence Day, July 4th. So we're going to be talking about that. If you're interested in that sort of thing, just mark it on your calendar maybe. And on July 3rd, we're going to have a broader discussion on freedom and independence and what it really means to humanity, not just America. All right, so let's go ahead and move away from that topic. Again, if you have any questions for our guest, the Big Zang Theory, also known as Luke, go ahead and put them in the chat here, and I will ask. So let's shift this now and talk some more about some happier things. So um, what do you think you personally love about yourself and hate about yourself?
Funny you say, let's move on to happier things, and then like you talk about what I love and hate about myself, because it's a very short list of what I love about myself, but the list of what I hate about myself goes on and on
Okay,
forever.
well, let's just focus on the short list of what you love about yourself first.
All right, sure. I'll do my best to not make this as sad and depressing for sure. But what I do love about myself would probably be my maybe I would say my commitment or my enthusiasm towards certain um things. For example, like I was really like I was really getting into like live streaming as a whole, and um that was like something like that passion really got me through. Another thing that I really like about myself would probably be how I'm someone who avoids conflict. Like I can't, if I'm seeing two people standing, I'll just try my best to like leave the room. Like I'm like that person who avoids conflict at uh like at all cost. But in oftentimes I'm a pretty good mediator of conflict if I say so myself. So that's what I love about myself in particular, like, being a conflict mediator and being someone who's enthusiastic and passionate. When it comes to things what I hate about myself, there's quite a lot, but I would say it's about like my insecurities. I easily let other people get to me. So like people like I've been growing up my hair for the past year or so, and I used to have short hair prior to this. So like people have been like saying, "Oh my god, I look horrendous, I look hideous, and I look homeless." And
I
people
don't
have
see
been
it.
yeah, people have been complaining like, oh, how I look fat as well. Because I used to be like quite a fat until I lost some weight. But people are still saying, oh, I could always be better. And what I hate about myself in that situations is that I let it get to me and I let it influence my thoughts. So that's just sort of you know that's just sort of like how it goes about. Yeah, like it sort of pushes me to be better, but most of the time I'm just wallowing in sadness and thinking, oh my god, I could have been better. So yeah, that's what I love and hate about myself. I like my passions, I love how it drives me, I love how I'm a mediator of conflict, but I also hate how I let insecurities really get the best of me.
Well, and we all get in our heads sometimes, and just stick there, about how somebody says something about it that isn't necessarily true. Like, I mean, dude, you're skinny. You're, I mean, look at me. I literally I see now. I've been on a diet. I started a couple of years ago at my heaviest weight, 506 pounds, and right now I'm four. I just weighed myself again this morning. I'm 418 pounds. So
Wait,
since
yeah,
I
that's
started, I've
amazing.
lost almost 100. Actually, I got down to 389, and then I came back up, and I got depressed when COVID hit, basically, and I went way back up, and now I'm losing again, and I'm back down. But anybody that ever says to you that you look fat, show them a picture of me and say, no, this is a fat ass. I'm skinny. You're dumb, and I'm smart because this is a fat man. Okay, I can't, man. Anybody that calls you fat is just a dumb individual that you probably don't even want to speak to in the first place.
Thank you so much for the words of encouragement. But you said like anyone who calls me fat is like like a dumb individual who might that shouldn't be talking to me, right? So said individuals include my mom, my dad,
Yeah,
my
no,
brother,
no,
and
no.
like these are the people who have been calling me fat and saying I should lose weight. And the thing is, I did weigh like I don't know how much my weight was back then, but all I know is that I lost about during the pandemic, I lost about 25 pounds, give or take, through exercise. And I'm quite happy with that weight loss. That being said, that was really what, what people started saying, like, oh my God, you lost so much weight and you lost this, you lost that, and all that. And it's, again, like, I guess like what some people in chat, like Rika says, oh, Rika, hi. So she said, what does that have to do with anything? What does like your weight loss have to do with anything in particular? You know what I'm saying? Like your weight, how fat you are, how skinny you are, it shouldn't matter. But yet here in Asia, we live in such a superficial world where people heavily prioritize your weight and how you look. So it kind of sucks, but like it shouldn't have to do with anything, of course. So yeah.
Well, and see, that's obviously a different culture, and I don't mean to insult your family members there, but to me, that's like, why in the world would you demean your son and say you're fat, you need to lose weight? I mean, maybe you've got a little bit of extra weight that you can lose, but you just said to me that it depresses you. So are they concerned at all about your mental state, or are they just concerned about how you look?
I guess like they're concerned about how I look because if I'll be honest, most they don't really care like how I feel on the inside that much. I guess they want me to be happy. That being said, these are like religious conservative parents who don't believe that mental health is a thing. They are the kind of people that believe that if you pray to God, everything's gonna be all right. And I'm like, no, can I see a therapist, please? But
Yeah.
again, like that's why I'm sort of just like pulling through it myself. I'm doing my best to work on myself. Like yeah, I have like my dad like constantly tells like saying that my hair looks horrible. My brother says I need to cut my hair off. He's a year older than me, and my mom says my hair looks good, so I'm happy with that. But like a lot of these people keep like telling me, like especially back then, they say like you need to lose weight, and I'm like, but why? Why should I have to lose weight? Like, and like what like some people say, like when it comes to like friends, like they keep saying, "Oh my god, you're so fat. You're like fat," like because they're like skinny in comparison. And like what Rika said, it says, "Oh, it's just a joke," or like blah blah blah. But like it gets to you at some point, and
Yes.
that's what really got me down it for a very long period of time. I was just like, "Fuck, I really have to lose weight," and that was one of my main causes of depression for a very long time. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that I speak for everybody here when I say, Luke, you are a beautiful person just the way you are. You don't need to change your appearance just for us, at the very least. I can't speak for your parents, but we're not going to make any kind of judgments on that like you. So thank you for being with us, you beautiful person, and don't take it so hard because there are people in the world that do not judge based on those superficial things.
Thank you so much because it really means a lot to me. As someone who has struggled with body image and issues and all that stuff. But like, thank you. I really appreciate your words. I am working on being a better person myself. Just like changing the way on how I perceive myself with my weight and with how my appearance in general. Like I like see like this long hair. I like my long hair. I want it to be longer. And my weight, I'm pretty happy with what it is now. I don't mind like if I just happen to lose weight, like if things happen like naturally. I don't mind all of that. So I'm just sort of changing my perception and perspective on how like I perceive myself. And to everyone in the chat, thank you so much for like your words of kindness. Like I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. You guys really it means a lot to me.
It's our pleasure. Okay, who is a public person, either past or present, that you look up to and why?
Ooh, okay, interesting question. Um, I guess one of like I have a few people whom I look up to. One of my favorites would be the actor Sebastian Stan. So he has acted as one of his more famous portrayals would be like the Winter Soldier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has also like um other cameos and appearances in like Pam and Tommy, the latest Hulu series. There's also his appearance in Black Swan, so on and so on. So one thing which I really like appreciate about like what I look up and admire about Sebastian Stan is how cool and how very calm and chill he is like almost all of the time. And another person would probably be Chris Evans. Um, so yes, these are also my celebrity crushes. They are amazing people. They're hot. What can I say? I'm a simp. But at the same time, these people are also, they've talked about their experiences with anxiety. And Chris Evans, when he first started acting as like with the Avengers, like after he did Captain America, the first Avenger or something, and he went the first Avengers movie he worked on with like Robert Downey Jr., so on and so on. He talked about how he always had like this inferior complex and how he felt super and anxious about you know like just how things would unfold in general for him. And I sort of related to that. And he's like someone whom I look up to like a lot because he got through his anxiety. He's feeling so much better. And because of him, like I really like just admire how he managed to pull through. someone with anxiety and an inferior complex, if he can do it, then I definitely can do it as well. So uh why I look up to both of these people, Sebastian Stan and what I call and Chris Evans. They are amazing people, and yeah.
Yes, you can. All right, so now we're going to get to the last segment, which we'll spend a little bit more time on, maybe, and that is the gaming segment, because we are on Twitch and there's a lot of gamers here, and probably just about everybody that I interview on this show is going to be a gamer in some capacity. So let's start with, first of all, we will put your channel in the page here. Hold on, if I can type it out properly. Nope, gotta spell it right.
No, I got it. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
That's my Twitch channel. So yeah.
Oh, and it just shouted me out for some reason. I must have spelled
Oh,
it wrong
because
or
you put
something.
the Bang Zang theory.
Oh yeah. Okay,
It's all right. Don't
so
worry about it.
I'm not your host anymore. I'm Luke is going to be your host from now on because he can spell his own shit properly. Anyway, yeah, go check him out. Give him a follow if you haven't done so already. What kind of games do you typically play when you're streaming on Twitch?
So when I first started this channel, like my Twitch channel, I wanted to put an emphasis on indie games. So I don't think we show a lot of love to like independent games, like games created by indie studios. So
Mhm.
that's why I really wanted to showcase. So I do love to stream a lot of like indie games myself. For example, I like streaming. So I stream games such as Fires at Midnight, which is a local Malaysian game. That's imagine like in a world where if you make love with the wrong person, you just burn up in flames. So that was a very interesting game I played. Not one of my personal favorites, but there are other games, of course. There's games such as Coffee Talk, which is a very simple, like a barista simulator game where you get to know like more people. What do you call? You get to talk to people's lives and get to know their stories and such. It's a visual novel, really beautiful game. There's also this game called What Comes After. It's about a girl who somehow travels to like the afterlife and how like her depressed suicidal self embarks on this beautiful really beautiful journey on self-love and self-perseverance. So I highly recommend you guys to like explore these games. And if you like, all of my VODs have been like they've been highlighted as permanent Twitch highlights. So you can take a look at the gameplay videos. I highly appreciate if you guys will also give some love to these creators, these independent creators. But as of lately, I am broke. Like when I say broke, I have no money at all in my bank account. I'm like $0, nothing in there. So I've tend to like turn towards like this hyper fixation I have towards Dead by Daylight. I really like it's one of the first few competitive games which I really enjoy thoroughly. I love like single player games, but I've been turning towards Dead by Daylight a lot. So I've been streaming a lot of Dead by Daylight content, but I do intend to focus on like other games as well. Like other indie games as well. I'm gonna get back to it. For example, Hollow Knight. It's a game that I've been meaning to. I think everyone knows about Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to play Hollow Knight. A friend of mine bought it for my birthday. Really appreciate him for that. So I'm planning to look into Hollow Knight and start streaming that as well. And I'm also going to do my research on more indie games, especially in the Southeast Asian region. Something that I can bring like my country to like the forefront of like other indie games as well, to show that we are just as good as other game creators, of course. I also plan to stream some like other like AAA content as well. Maybe like Horizon Zero West, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, A Thief's End. Like those are like some really games I've been playing off stream, and I plan to stream it to you guys in the future. So yeah,
Okay, good. Well, the nice thing about having $0 in your bank account is that most indie games on Steam are free. There's quite
that
a
is
few of
true.
them. I
Yes,
found a wealth of games on there that you can find. Some of them, are a couple of bucks, but you could probably find quite a bit out there. One of our other people in our community, Watch Whitney, is very big into indie games of the horror genre. And she's always trying to explore indie games that maybe nobody plays or you haven't seen before, or it's new to her as well, just to try to see if there's any good new indie horror games out there. But yeah, you could probably find quite a bit. I'm sure, and just you know, find something new regularly to be able to stream.
I love that. Yeah, I indie horror games. That's definitely some few games on my wish list. And one of the first game which I played on my channel was actually a Malaysian indie horror game. Definitely gonna have to check out some of these indie horror games that Whitney has been playing. I would love to see them actually. Yeah.
Yeah, check out her channel. She's got a lot. All here, I'll put and hopefully actually spell it properly, uh, so you can go check her out. There you go. And
There
she
we
does that.
go.
Yep, and she does quite a bit of that. But yeah, indie games. There's probably some things on Steam that I've seen that I really do want to check out at some point. I add, every once in a while something to my wish list, and uh, if it's not free, wait till it goes on sale uh, to go ahead and purchase it. But so in particular, besides like indie games, or maybe you could talk more specifically about indie games, what is it that makes a game interesting or fun to you?
To me, I like to see something that's a more of a concept that stands out. What makes it so different than other games? So when it comes to like coffee talk, like I haven't heard of a lot of like barista simulators, coffee barista simulators, and as well as games where you can listen to other people's stories and learn more about them. I haven't come across any games of that sort. This game called What Comes After, I believe. Like I haven't heard of a game where you will travel to the afterlife and embark on a journey of self-discovery. Like a lot of these indie game studios, they have these really beautiful, amazing ideas that not many AAA studios come up with, and that's what sort of draws me to it. The only like more like popular game I would say that Dead by Daylight, I would say it's like what drew me to that game is that it's a 4 versus 1 sort of thing. No, you don't really find asymmetrical games all that often. So that's what I love about these games. Like the standout factor, what makes it stand out from other games? What makes you different than other creators? What is this just another gacha game? Is this just another role playing like game that I'm gonna be playing? Or how is it gonna be different? I would love to see that. Like what the first game which I played, I sadly can't remember what's the name. Oh, Short Creepy Tales at 7 a.m. That's the game which I first played, and it's the first game I've ever seen that showcases Malaysian horror folklore, Malaysian horror stories that we like as children, like we listen to these stories, and it's the first time someone had actually put it into a game
Wow,
and showcased it. So that's what really stood out for me. I've never seen these concepts before. So show me something different, and I'm mostly going to be interested in this game. So yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. All right, so absolute favorite game ever in all of history.
Uh, there's a lot. I can't decide. I can't pick on just one. Can I pick a few?
Two. I'll give you two.
Two. Okay. Dead by Daylight. It's a very bad addiction slash hyperfixation on. One more game would be hmm, jeez. I have to give it to Life is Strange. So Life is Strange
Okay.
was, it's not an indie game, I know, but it's the game that actually got me back into gaming when I first started. When I first joined Twitch on back in like November 2020, like stumbled upon someone playing Life is Strange, and that's what got me into the game. And also, the game has a huge amount of representation, people of different races, different ethnic backgrounds, different sexualities. Like that's what really got me into gaming again. That's what made me like my, what do you call, that's what got me back into the gaming world. So yeah, Dead by Daylight and Life is Strange, the entire series. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to ask somebody. I'm going to put somebody on the spot. Angle Doom, if you are able to, would you put a Discord link, an invite link to Optimus Crime's Discord in the chat for me? Um, for the simple fact that Angle Doom, Cop, G Ray, uh, Sleight of Game occasionally, and a few others regularly play Dead by Daylight. So he's gonna post a link invite to Optimus Crimes because that's usually where they play. And if you want to join, Luke, feel free, and maybe you can get in on some of those Dead by Daylight games. It's probably going to be the morning where you are when they are playing their multiplayer games, but yeah, you might be
I mean,
you might be able
yeah,
to join
I
in
wouldn't
for
mind
them.
waking up early for games. So hey, I'm definitely gonna join it. Thank you for the invite. Thank
Well,
you.
they actually, now that I think about it, they sometimes play pretty late into the night too. So maybe like 11 to 2 p.m., 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. your time. You might be able to
That'll be
join in with them.
oh, definitely, I'll be able to join for sure.
Yeah, and they're real big. They love Dead by Daylight too. So that might be a good fit for you to join them. All right. So that's your favorite worst game you ever played. What is the you played this game and you can't stop. You can't get it out of your head how horrible it was.
Oh my god, I don't play a lot of bad games. A lot of games which I play are actually pretty good. But
Or
oh
or
man,
just one you really didn't care for and
yeah,
you decided you didn't want to play it anymore.
I hate to say it, but it's actually another Malaysian game. It's called Fires at Midnight. So I talked about this game earlier. It's like a game where the concept is imagine a world where if you have sex with the wrong person, if you have sex with someone whom you're not fully in love with, and the feeling isn't mutual, you will burn up in flames, like just poof, set ablaze. And it had such an interesting tagline. That concept, it sounded so good. Like I don't know why I haven't thought of that idea myself for like a story or writing or anything. But like when I was thinking of like I saw I saw that tagline. It showed like about a couple, like a young photographer and his girlfriend, how they were like getting through with all this like life in this situation and all that. But when I played that game, it's a point and click game. Um, when I played it, very quickly realized that this is not a good game because the story wasn't executed well. There could have been so much things you know so many things that could have gone better, like the story could have been more elaborated. The game was edgy for the sake of being edgy. That's the best way to put it. And I was live streaming that game, and it was like I was like like everyone could see I was getting bored with this game. I didn't want to rage quit because I was near the end, but like I spent about 4 to 5 hours on that game. I would not recommend it at all. I believe that there are better games you can invest your money in. It's not that expensive, of course, but like ah, it breaks my heart because that's a Malaysian game, and I'm a Malaysian. I would love to showcase the good side of Malaysia. So like definitely maybe avoid that game. I remember one of my mods, like Rika. So Rika is actually a friend of mine, and she's a moderator in my channel. Like we were both like she was watching me play, and she said it's a unique experience. It's putting it mildly. It was just horrible. I am so sorry. I found it very hard to stream that game. So there you
No,
go.
no,
Fires at
no.
Midnight.
You don't have to apologize. I mean, like everybody's got that, especially if you're a gamer where I don't know, this just a terrible game that you're never gonna play it again. You're sorry you ever spent the money on it or whatever. Yeah, so that's perfectly fine. You don't need to apologize for that. All right. So do you know when you might be streaming next?
Uh, I wish I actually knew because college has started again recently. So I'm very busy. I have to start streaming like much lesser. I might be streaming most likely on the weekends and Friday nights. Those are the times when I'm free. Uh, I guess now there's like a current like I have a 1 week off holiday because it's Eid. So Eid Mubarak to everyone celebrating. So I might try to stream maybe tonight as well. So morning for you guys out there. But
Right.
I'm so sorry, I can't guarantee anything because it's up in the air.
No,
So yeah.
that's okay. I was just wondering if you had like something you knew was coming up, but I put his channel link in the chat again there properly this time. And what I would say is hit the notification bell if you're going to follow Luke here, and that way you will get a notification when he actually does go live because he's obviously very busy with college now. So when he does go live and starts playing those indie games, you'll get a notification. You can head on over and check him out, and I'm sure he would really appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to head over now to coming attractions here on the EBC channel. If you have any final questions for our guest, the Big Zang Theory, put them in the chat now, and I will ask them as soon as we come back. In the meantime, let's talk about what's coming up here on EBC, including this Saturday, which is going to be my 40th birthday charity stream. That's right, I am the oldest man in the history of the world, except for Doom. He's only like 2 minutes older than I am. And in order to celebrate my birthday, I am asking that you join me on Saturday afternoon to help raise some money for the Ukrainian refugees, whose lives have been turned into a total disaster just because that dictator Putin has decided that Ukraine is a part of the USSR because he's trying, yeah. So whatever. In the meantime, we're going to help these poor people. So I'm going to set a donation goal of $1,000, and any little bit counts. The only downside to that is that it's going to go through GoFundMe, and they do have a $5 minimum donation. But if you are able, like let's say you want to donate $2 and you're not able to, send it to me in the mail or something, and I'll donate it for you. We would like to do whatever we can, and every little bit counts. So at the very least, stop by on Saturday afternoon. That's May 7th, and it's going to start at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Part of what I'm going to try to provide in the way of entertainment for trying to raise some money for charity here is I'm going to be replaying the first 3 audio dramas we produced: The Devil's Gift, Christmas Insanity, and The Threat of They, which up until now, if you didn't see them at the premiere and you're not a Patreon member, you have not been able to see them. So if you're new and you want to see them, stop by the channel. You'll be able to get to see them for free as part of our charity stream that day. And we're going to have some special guests and some gaming, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have some community games at the end, so you too can join in just as the viewer of the channel, and it'll be lots of fun. So once again, that's Saturday, May 7th, this coming Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we hope to see you there. Also coming up is going to be our regular public domain movie night. That's 1 week from tonight, Monday, May 9th, 7 p.m. Our first Western, Angel and the Bad Man, starring John Wayne and Gail Russell. If you like Westerns or you're just a fan of black and white movies in general, stop on by for that. And you never know. You never know. I might actually play a game myself from time to time. Oh, yeah, look what's coming up. After all of the major events that have been happening in my life and my brother's life recently, and we're just now settling down and getting things in order, I need some downtime. So I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But in the meantime, I do want to play some more games and have some more streams where we're just having some fun and actually, chilling. So I'm going to be purposefully coming in for not a random stream on Thursday, May 12th. We're going to be playing some Minecraft and building some more of the virtual EBC theater, and just randomly having some fun. And there will be more gaming streams coming up. And then our last arcade episode of the season. This is our season 1 finale. Watch Whitney will be presenting her favorite game, BioShock, and that will be on Sunday, May 15th. Again, it's still tentative time. I have not locked this in yet, but it should be May 15th, 5 p.m. On twitch.tv/EBC2021. So make sure you stop on by to see that and her fabulous hair. Then EBC will be taking a breather. That's right. I am basically kind of burnt out here, and there's a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to do, but I also need a break. We've had a lot going on here. So between Monday, May 16th and Sunday, June 5th, I will be taking a break. I might be doing some random, like Castlevania 2 streams from my house during that time if it so fits me, but probably not. I don't know. So just 3 weeks. I'm gonna go on a Twitch vacation, Twitchy exaggeration, and then we'll be back, and I'll have some brand new content for you when I come back as well. But before then, this is one thing that's going to be happening while we're on break that I wanted to draw your attention to, and it will be happening exclusively on the Conflux Discord. And that is short and sweet, presenting some classic Saturday morning cartoons. So that's going to be starting Saturday, May 21st at 10 a.m. in the Conflux Discord. Watch for more information on that in the organizing channel. Probably going to be somewhere like Watch Room 1 or Watch Room 2 or Watch Room 3, something like that. But yeah, the organizing channel in the Conflux Discord is going to have some more information on that. And hope you can stop by and, just chill on a nice Saturday morning. All right, so let me make sure we didn't have any outstanding questions here. Let me come back over to this. Angle Doom asks, "Who is your favorite survivor?"
So in Dead by Daylight, there are many survivors. Yeah, I actually did answer this. So it's either Michaela or Bill. These are two of my favorite characters. I used to play as Bill very often until my friend bought me the DLC which comes with Michaela, and I've fallen in love ever since. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. All right, I don't think we have any more questions. I didn't miss any. But yeah, lots of stuff coming up, and thank you so much, Luke, for joining us. I really appreciate you. Again, if you have not followed this beautiful man over there, please make sure you do that and hit that notification bell just in case, because we never know when he's going to go live. He's sneaky. He's very sneaky. And yeah, we will have some more of these shows. The interviews with normal, extraordinary people. As you can see, Luke is very normal, but he's also very extraordinary in his own way. So, once again, thank you for joining us. Let's go raid out. Let's find somebody to take this love on over to. Does anybody have any suggestions? If you have any suggestions, put them in the chat. We'll go see somebody. Otherwise, I will choose somebody. Unless, Luke, do you have any suggestions? Let's. Oh, Ray. Okay. Yeah. No problem. I'm sorry. This one screen, this ending screen. I forgot to add the Discord audio, so he was just thanking me for having him on the screen here. All right, so let's go raid Ray. Yeah, let's do this. Ray. It's been a while since I've seen Ray, so we're gonna go say hello. No? Yep, there we go. Perfect. Thank you all for joining us, and I will see you on Saturday for the charity stream. If you're able to stop by, I really appreciate you. We'll see you there, and don't do anything I wouldn't do, because I surely am not going to do that shit at all, ever. Good night.